This right here is a Cessna 172, and it's not any Cessna 172. It's the Cessna I used for my first solo, my PPL flight test, my CPL flight test, and most of my time building. So it's a very special plane for me. Today I want to show you guys a little bit of it. Talk about Cessna 172 and why they are such a popular plane for pilot training. If you're thinking on becoming a pilot, most likely you'll be flying one of these planes. This is the most manufactured plane in the world. Over 44,000 planes were made, and a lot of them are still flying today. This right here is from 1969 and it's still flying. So you have a lot of options when you're buying them. You have a lot of parts if you need to fix them. It's a super reliable plane. That's why you see them everywhere you go. And I'm also gonna link the POH of this model on a link down in the description. So you can have a look on the PDF file of the plane if you wanna know some specifics about this model. Everything will be linked there, so I don't need to mention every single thing in this video. So apart from being extremely reliable, you have a lot of options so it becomes cheap. This plane is also super forgiving for student pilots. Doesn't matter how hard you try, the plane will always forgive your mistakes. It's a harder plane to stall. This one right here is super hard to put in a spin. This model I'm flying has a bit of a longer wingtip, so it has a better glide ratio, and it's very forgiving for spin and stalls. This one has a fixed prop, of course, it's not variable pitch. Also fixed landing gears, you can't retract them. So yeah, the tail sign of the one I'm flying is Foxtrot Quebec, Lima, Quebec. White and blue from 1969. The maximum takeoff weight of this plane is 2,300 pounds. It has two fuel tanks, one in each wing, 19 gallons each, so a total of 38 usable gallons and 4 gallons of unusable fuel. This model has a 160 horsepower engine, which sounds very little, especially when you're comparing to cars. 160 doesn't sound like a lot for an airplane. But you need to remember that this plane, without fuel or people in it, only weighs 1,451 pounds. And I'm gonna try to find a car the same weight so you're gonna understand how light this thing actually is. So 160 horsepower is more than enough to take you flying and cruise at around 100 knots, which is pretty impressive. It's over 160 kilometers an hour. This plane used to have a little metal plate right here so you could step when you wanted to refuel, but for some reason they removed it. So now you need to step on the wing strut. And when it's raining, it can be a bit tricky and slippery. So we need to step here, hold the plane, grab on the fuel cap, and then you can fuel the plane. So you need to do a little bit of climbing to check how much fuel you have in this plane. Outside here we have the static port, the pitot tube, and the stall horn is right here. This is the panel for this Cessna. You might see different panels in different Cessnas. Some gauges go in different places, but the one I fly is this one. We have the airspeed, attitude indicator, altimeter, the VSI. Here's for the VOR. We have the turn coordinator, clock, primer master, magnetos, all the circuit breakers, the master for the radio. We have all the light controls and the pitot heat. We have the carb heat, throttle, mix, flaps, cabin air, and cabin heat. And here we have the communication, the GPS. We have the COM2 and the VOR and the transponder right here. On the right side we have the RPM, amp meter, charge, suction, the fuel tanks, and the oil pressure and temperature. We have the EGT monitor right here and the flaps. And this is the one to check the time of the engine, the time running. In here we have the trim tab to control the tab on the tail, and also the fuel tank selector. And don't forget the good and old compass. So the Cessna 172 is a high wing plane, which means you have a really good ground visibility, but not so much air visibility. When you're taking people flying for the first time, if they've never been in a small plane, it's nice in a Cessna because they get to see everything. They get to see the city, the views down there. But when I'm flying, when I fly with the Piper, I like it a bit more for the visibility on the air. It's easier to spot traffic, and if you want to see something down there, you can just bank the plane and have a look. This Cessna that I fly doesn't have a window on the right seat, just on the left seat. It has doors on both sides, so that's not a problem, but the window only opens in this side. Other Cessnas we have in the school have windows on both sides. Some of them open all the way up, some of them open just a little bit. Anyway, over here we have a light for the cabin. We have a yellow light and we also have a red light. We use the red light at night. At night you don't really want anything bright, because if you use a white or yellow light, after you turn it off, you won't be able to see anything. So the red light's a good option because it only shows you anything that's white on the cockpit turns kind of red, and anything that's black doesn't really reflect that much, so it's a nice way to keep your vision still good at night. This one, you have a little sun cover right here, and we don't have an AC. What we have is openings for the outside world. So we have a little cabin air that we can open to get air from outside, both from the side of the plane and also from the wings. When you open the cabin air, it opens a little door on the side of the plane and air will come through. And if you put the cabin heat, it opens a little passage from air that's passing closer to the engine, so it's warm air. And up there is our air conditioning. So if you twist this, it opens our AC, and if you twist it back, it closes it. Here we have the controls for the rudder and also the front wheel. And here we have the parking brake, and if you want to brake while you're moving, you just press the top of the pedals. And of course on the right side you have the same setup. Right next to the trim tabs where we have the ports for the headset. Now this right here is a carbon monoxide detector. If these things go dark, you're in trouble, my friend. If you forgot where you came in from, there's a little sign on top of the door that says exit, so really useful. In between the seats we have a fire extinguisher. The front seats in these planes are pretty roomy. I'm 6'3" and I can put all the way to the back, and I'm actually kind of far, so when I'm flying I put the seat a little bit to the front right here, and it's good enough that I can fit people behind me as well. Probably not someone as tall as I am, but I already flew with 3 other people in the plane, and it's kind of tight on the back, especially on your shoulders. You're gonna probably be touching shoulders with the passenger on the back, but that's all right. For the people in the front, it's a bit better, it's more comfortable. You also have a seat height adjustment. Everything in this plane is super light. Remember, weight is one of the most important things on a plane, so everything feels really light. You kind of have a cheap feel to it because it needs to be light materials and everything, but that's what you need to do if you want to fly, right? We have the front seats, then we have the back seats, and behind the back seats we have the cargo compartment. Here's where you can put any baggages you might take on your flight. At the door we have the limit of the cargo compartment, which is 120 pounds for this plane. Next week I'm gonna make a video about the Piper Warrior. It's the other plane I use for the flight training as well. I really like flying that one. It has some differences when comparing to the Cessna. Not only the low wing, but the systems inside. We have a fuel pump, the flaps are manual in that one. And I enjoy flying the Piper a bit more than the Cessnas, and I'm gonna tell you why in the next video. And I'm also gonna make a comparison video between the two of them. If you're new to the channel and this is your first video, make sure you subscribe. This year I'm gonna make a video per week, every week. I'm gonna choose nice videos and topics that you guys wanna see. So make sure you comment down below what type of videos you wanna see next. If you have any questions or you want to know more about flight training here in Vancouver or in Canada, make sure you send me a message on Instagram. I'll link it down below. And if you want to support the channel, there's also a link there for that. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.